And now he has to kind of make his way out of Yokohama Station because the turnstiles are coming. And he's got the computer girl in, I believe, an earpiece, is sending him messages about where to go. And she's kind of finding a path for him to escape.
Like Sewer Shark.
Welcome to the Wordy Pair Podcast, your go-to hub for all things writing, world building, and the occasional dive into the weird and wonderful world of fiction. We're breaking down the barriers between you and your next great story. Whether you're a seasoned scribe or just scribbling your first sentences, we've got something for you. We'll be discussing everything from crafting compelling characters to dissecting the good, the bad, and the downright bizarre in the world of fiction. Okay, this script says you guys are eccentric. Isn't that just a 3-syllable word for weird? No offense. So, whether you're in need of inspiration, a good laugh, or just a couple of weirdos to keep you company on your writing journey, you're in the right place. Thanks for tuning in to the Wordy Pair Podcast.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Wordy Pair Podcast. As always, I'm Rudy.
And I'm Justin.
And we're going to be doing a little bit of a half-blind review, although based on what you've told me about this book, Justin, it's not like one of those half-blind, we joke and laugh and make fun of it reviews, but actually a good book.
That's a decent book.
So it's like called Yokohama Station Science Fiction, or SF or something like that?
I don't know if the SF stands for science fiction or not.
It usually does in Japanese.
But it doesn't actually say that anywhere. But it is Yokohama Station.
Well, no, but
SF.
I mean, like, I think I've read in, like, a dictionary somewhere. Yeah, I think I was, like, looking stuff up on Jim Breen's dictionary, and, like, SF, SUF, is, I think, a Japanese word that translates directly to science fiction in English.
I mean, it could also translate to sadism fiction.
Let's hope not. Did you just find the Japanese 50 Shades of Grey?
Who wants a quick Japanese lesson?
Uh-huh.
No, that's, yeah, we don't need that lesson today.
No.
This is Yokohama Station SF, and it's written by Yuba Isukari, and it's got some... Yuba, like with a B. Like, my nose is stuffed up, so everything's going to sound wrong.
No, but I'm just thinking, like, that is a very strange... That sounds like a non-standard Japanese name.
It might be, or maybe it's some kind of, like, I don't know, Okinawan thing, or...
Oh, maybe.
Who knows? Yeah, Yuba Isukari, and then there's artwork, a nice cover illustration, and a bunch of artwork in the book, done by Tatsuyuki Tanaka.
Tatsuyuki Tanaka. Okay.
All right, so... what we have here is... now, the science fiction part of it is the most interesting part about the book, because it's not the most exciting book in the world, and it's not that
it's named after a train station. I think there's a certain type of person... There's a certain type of person that if you name a train station, that person gets excited. I don't think either of us is that kind of person.
I don't think the author really is either, in most of the sense of excitement.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that, like, there is an audience for us to just name Japanese train stations. Like, if we wanted to convert the podcast over to... we cater entirely to train otaku. That could be done. It's just... I don't think
it really couldn't. That would be impossible, because it would instead be you catering to that audience. There would be no conversion for me.
Maybe I should try it on my own and just get like 1 million subscribers in like a week.
It will be so much bigger than this podcast, and yet
it'd be ridiculous.
I am not talking about trains in Japan for an hour every week.
No, not talking about trains, just like saying the names of stations.
Just saying that. Oh, well, I mean, if you wanted to do a 10-minute podcast every day where we just say the names of stations in Japan, that's fine. But I am not going to talk about the train stations in Japan for an hour.
See, I knew you'd be on board.
Week. I see what you did there. I've got my Metro Pass. Or no, it's Multipass in Japan. Or at least it was.
I think that's just the Fifth Element.
I could have sworn. We had a friend that told us a joke sometime about someone I'm going to strangle a dog. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm actually kidding. I'm not going to do anything about it.
Aw.
She does what she does, and we live with it. So let's talk about some science fiction and trains.
Okay, let's do it.
Are apparently very exciting topics for the dogs. Well, I mean, it's not even about trains, actually. That's the thing here. Like I said, the author...
Well, it's one of those weird things where, like, train stations are very important and constant places for people in Japan. Like, they recognize what train station they live closest to, and which train station they work closest to, and things like that. It's a very different mindset from you and me, no public transit Americans, where it's like, my house is at my address, and my work is at its address, and I take roads in a car that I own to get from one to the other.
Sure. You're still a little off track, though.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Not to put too fine of a bullet point on it.
Educate me.
Idea behind it,
Okay.
whether or not the person who wrote this is an enthusiast, we'll start with some of the concepts in the book, because it's central to what's going on in the story.
Okay.
The idea that the author gives in, I believe, the prologue at the end is that he watched Yokohama Station changing so much over the years that it started to form the idea of a story in his head. And I don't think I need to really jump back to that epilogue.
Okay.
I'm semi-paraphrasing here. I don't remember his exact word. Oh, I'm sorry, not epilogue, the afterword.
Is it possible to semi-paraphrase? Isn't paraphrase like just kind of a thing where you've changed the words yourself already?
Semi-paraphrased means that it's paraphrased, but it might not be wholly accurate to the context.
Oh. You're just telling a story.
Yeah, I'm telling a story. No, the afterword starts out like this. Since the birth of Yokohama Station in 1915, it's never been without some kind of ongoing construction for over 100 years. Some like to call it the Sagrada Familia of Japan, destined never to be finished.
Okay.
So that's the basis of this
Where
weird
the hell is
idea.
Yokohama?
It's next to a beach.
Okay. So it's near the ocean. Is it on Honshu or is it on a different island?
I have no idea. I can look though. There's a convenient map. So
okay.
Let's see. Where is the actual Yokohama Station? It's not going to tell us where Yokohama Station is in the book.
You got to be kidding me.
Yokohama Station. I'm not kidding.
Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to look it up on Google Maps.
There's a reason that it doesn't, though. There's a reason that it doesn't, and that's the science fiction part of it. There is this war that is referenced throughout this book. Something like the Great Winter War or something.
Uh-huh. Okay, so I just looked it up. Yokohama Station is on the south side of Tokyo, on the west side of Tokyo Bay. So it's Honshu, it's in a big city, it's part of a big city. Glad we cleared that up.
All right, then. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty sure it was next to a beach because A, it's in Japan, and Japan is very narrow, so that's not hard. But also B...
For anywhere in Japan, for us, is close to a beach.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's also called Yokohama, which, I mean, literally means beside the beach.
You're right. That makes a lot of sense.
We're going to have fun with this book, aren't we?
I hope so.
All right, so...
It's side of beach.
So, almost 10 minutes in, we should probably give a little bit of the premise of this book, right?
Yes, please do.
No, it's pretty great. The idea behind it is that during this war that happened, there were all these different technologies that people invented, trying to... the war was taking place worldwide, but it was also like inter-Japan war kind of stuff going on.
Okay.
Different factions in Japan. And so these technologies that people invented were along the lines of robots and nanotechnology. And I forget exactly what the word is that they kept using in here. I don't think... Oh, yeah, the genetic field is what they're referring to.
Genetic field. Okay, I've never heard that phrasing before. Kind of cool. Well,
apparently what happened is someone designed this genetic field thing, and based it in Yokohama Station so that the station would continue to expand itself and replicate things and follow a basic code to where every time it expands, it absorbs the technology of where it's expanding and tries to make like it had set rules. Like let's say it expands over a mountain. It will build escalators on the side of the mountain so that people are able to traverse it.
Okay.
But it also doesn't have a perfect understanding of what is necessarily needed. It's just acting on this remnant of something that happened during a war, and due to circumstances of the war, it just never stopped. And Yokohama Station essentially consumed about half of Japan and just kept expanding. And like the mountains were covered with escalators that were going every which way. And so people would have to like move from one to the next to the next. Sometimes they'd be going backwards or forwards trying to get to
like
destination.
Leap from one to the other like it's a minecart puzzle.
Yeah,
or
well,
something?
you get a warning if you leap. And a warning is I believe it's announced over a loudspeaker.
Oh.
No. There's none of that. It's so it's a dystopian story.
Okay.
Where this guy, I believe where's his name? His name is Hiroto. I'm sure his last name is in here somewhere, but yeah, his name is Hiroto, and he's kind of like living on one of the outskirts of Yokohama Station, and Yokohama Station itself is, is supposedly where all of the hoity-toity rich people or whatever, or people who have it better than everyone else, kind of live inside.
Okay.
And there's rules about what you have to have or do to be able to live inside. And then the outskirts are kind of just like the place he lives is, it's called the Northern Steppes, which is not a real place. It's just what those people call it, because this is far in the future. So Japan is not the Japan that we know today.
Well, it's like 40% Yokohama Station at this point.
Yeah. And a lot of places like the Northern Steppes survive on the trash of Yokohama Station. So things are just discarded constantly. So nobody has really any purpose in the Northern Steppes. They are simply there collecting trash that comes out of Yokohama Station. That's how they get their food. That's how they get their clothing.
Like Roadside Picnic, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. There may be references to that in here. I'm not sure, but he doesn't directly say, as far as I can see. He listed some science fiction that inspired him in the afterword, but that was not one of them. It seems to be mostly Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
So in these outskirts, nobody really has any sense of purpose because they live hand to mouth by what comes out of the station. Well,
they're kind of stuck with what they get from the refuse, right? So they're kind of
The thing is, there's so much of it that they're not in a bad state. Like, everything is very plentiful. So there's also not really any huge impetus for anyone to do anything extra or special. And so Hiroto meets these two people, which he doesn't... It's sort of a past tense thing. Like, one guy came to the town once and was telling people about the inside of the station and all these different places, and he mentioned some things about people trying to rise up or stand up against the station, but the people on the Northern Steppes didn't really get it. There's a lot of things that people don't get in this book that it's just like, well, it won't make sense to them because they've never experienced the inside of it. So to them, it's just like, well, they must have great stuff in there because we get great stuff out here.
Yeah.
And then another person shows up. Well, there's another person that came to town, and he would tell stories, and Hiroto would listen. And at the very end of this guy's life, he gave Hiroto this 5-day pass to get into Yokohama Station.
Okay.
And he said he told him to try and rescue a certain person. So, having spent his time in 99 Steps all this time, he decided that he didn't like living without any kind of purpose, so at least this was something.
Yeah.
So he enters the station, and entering the station involves going up to these robots called turnstiles. And the turnstiles essentially keep anyone out that is not supposed to be in there. And if there's people inside that aren't supposed to be there, they toss them out.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those technology problems that Yokohama Station has, because they have certain points where they just toss people out. And the turnstiles have no real grasp of whether or not the people they're tossing out live or die. So sometimes people will get tossed out at the edge of the water in Yokohama, where they're just surrounded by water and there's a little spot of land. And
Yeah.
often they are tossed out, still tied up. So it's pretty
Oh.
much, it can be a death sentence to be tossed out of Yokohama Station.
Okay.
Not necessarily, like the person who showed up to his town to tell him all of this, he was tossed out, and he happened to be tossed out near this town, so he made his way there.
Okay.
Yokohama Station has a couple of rules that they go through in the book, and the largest two that are important to the story are that you can't use violence, and you can't kill anyone, and you're not supposed to damage property either. All of those things will get you thrown out of Yokohama Station.
Well, so let me ask you a question. Like, it's an expansion of a train station, right? So, at what point did it become not like a main function of Yokohama Station for people to go in and out of it, right? Like,
it's not clear in the story, but it's assumed that it's early on, that it became just part of the war zone, and the trains became there are still functioning trains, but nobody's using them because nobody even remembers the point of the station.
Oh.
But Hiroto does end up on the trains a couple of times, and it turns out that the trains are actually just outside the bounds. They're like underground. The subway trains aren't really technically within the bounds.
Oh,
now,
okay.
The reason I say it's a good story, but it's not a great story, is it was a fun read, but it suffers from one of the things that a lot of the Japanese novels I've read suffer from, where, and this is mostly true of the newer light novels. A lot of the older novels are some of the best fiction I've read, to be honest. Like the Dirty Pair novels are really up there. They might be my favorite science fiction novels. It's like they're at a dead heat with the Andromeda strain, you know?
Okay.
There's this sense in the book that Hiroto has zero agency throughout the book. He's just there. Everything happens to him. This happens a lot in Japanese stories, and it's not it's not a bad thing to have a story like this. But it's to the point that you're sitting there reading the book, and you're just like,
do something.
He takes no action in terms of things that could either save his life or end it, and he's just along for the ride. Other people are doing things around him, and it's almost like he's an outside observer, except he's also in danger sometimes.
Huh.
He lets things happen to himself. He gets into conversations with people that he doesn't want to. And I understand some of that is a cultural thing in Japanese, where maybe he's not trying to be rude or, really stand out in any special way. And he's also in the middle of a station where he's not really trying to cause any problems because he doesn't want to get thrown out.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure.
But he is partaking of this mission to rescue someone that's inside the station. And he is acting on that in ways that he'll even, test the boundaries of what he can do.
Okay. That sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, the only thing is, his ability to test those boundaries are determined by the actions of other people. At one point, he meets a robot who, early on in the story, he ends up in a prison cell. And this robot has this device that can break down the structure of the genetic field, which is basically everything. So this robot can make holes anywhere in Yokohama Station, and it won't alert the turnstiles and get him thrown out. Plus, being a robot,
that's kinda cool.
it's there's a lot of really interesting ideas like that in the book.
Yeah.
But, for as nice as it is, a lot of it doesn't come to fruition anywhere. Like, this becomes the Deus Ex Machina of the book. He gets this wand that can make holes anywhere he wants to. And supposedly there's a limited battery life, but it never really becomes an issue until the very end of the book, when you already know it's going to happen, and Hiroto suspects as much anyway. So it's telegraphed, so it's not like, oh, well, he can't do any more of this now.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So what's the reasoning behind saving this particular person? Does he find that out, or does he just go on the mission kind of sight unseen?
He really doesn't know, and I don't know if it really says much about it other than when you meet the character, because it happens very early in the book. Like maybe a third of the way through the book, he finds this person, and there's what you find out is that the person...
Is it like a damsel in distress kind of archetype, or something else, or...
Not really. It's someone... Okay. So she's sort of a a tinkerer and someone who messes around with technology.
Okay.
And she managed to secure herself a nice spot within Yokohama Station because she'd come up with a way to make the turnstiles think that she was at a different elevation, which Hiroto isn't aware of at the time, but he comes across all these turnstiles that are moving around in a circle around nothing and, calling out for a what's the word for it? Oh, suikas. Yeah, you have to have a suika implanted in order to stay in Yokohama Station.
Okay.
So she's got these robots thinking they're like way, at a lower elevation than she is because they're on Mount Fuji essentially in this story. And this is like a trick that she ends up using at, towards the end of the book. They've already told you that Hiroto is being given the same technology. She's doing it from a distance. There's this Suica net thing where it's a bunch of computers that people can access, and she's able to do a bunch of stuff with it. So it's a very like, oh, there's a hacker here, and so we can make things happen kind of story.
Okay.
And none of it is really all that important, though, is the thing, because he finds her, realizes that there's nothing to rescue. She is trapped there because she can't really escape.
Yeah.
Because there's, if she gets to a certain elevation, then she's kind of stuck with the turnstiles throwing her out anyway.
Right.
She doesn't really seem like she wants to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Even though it does seem like she could just go down the mountain and, get outside of the station's influence.
Yeah.
But it just never, I don't know if it never occurred to her or what her deal is. But, Hiroto gets two pieces of information. And one of them is that he can rescue this person. The other is that he should go to exit 42, which I was hoping was going to be a reference to
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Hitchhiker's Guide, but I'm not sure that it is.
Oh, that's an odd coincidence.
It really is because the whole quote was, "You'll find all your answers at 42," and I was like, "Is that what's happening?"
That's already a Hitchhiker's reference by itself. So.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, there's nothing in here that other than that.
Well, no, I mean that phrase itself is already a reference, right? Because 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, but okay. So actually, the quote's at the back of the book. The professor in his village told him, "Go to exit 42. You'll find the answers to everything there." And I just can't help but feel that it almost had to be.
It is. It already is. Yeah, it has to be.
We don't know that from the author's afterword. He doesn't bring up Hitchhiker's Guide in any way that I can see.
It's too. It's the coincidence is too strong.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We were talking about something before this where you were arguing exactly the opposite. I just want to point that out.
Were we?
Yeah, those toilets.
Oh, well, I didn't argue. I wasn't arguing strenuously. I was just saying it's possible. So this might be a fun little aside.
Yeah.
You sent me a picture of a broken toilet in a box. And what's the name? Eridanus?
Yeah, it's Eridanus.
Yeah.
Eridanus. And when you first look at the thing, it's like there's a picture of a toilet and it reads like arid anus.
Yes.
And I just feel like that can't be a coincidence.
It probably isn't, but at the same time I felt compelled to. I spent some time looking for some basic kind of run-of-the-mill consumer stuff on Amazon. And it is terrifying how many bizarre brand names are running around of Chinese dumping crap on all these different kinds of useful consumer electronics kind of stuff. And some of these brand names, if you want to have fun one day, look for something that random people use, like chairs or camcorders or something like that.
Light bulbs.
You could do that, yeah. I think light bulbs would. I mean,
they won't be as funny, but just looking up light bulbs and seeing how many of them
if you go on Amazon
exactly
and you look for something like this, where the brand doesn't matter for the most part, you will find some of the most strange, 17 consonants with one vowel kind of words, all kinds of bizarre stuff of some some poor sap in China is told like, hey, come up with a brand name for this thing so that we can dump some of it on Amazon and not have like a history of having 1-star reviews. And the guy's like, okay, Crackslaxels.
Yeah, my favorites are when they have a normal word mixed in with the brand name.
That's
so it's
very
like
common
Unzunctory Dining.
Yeah. So that's kind of.
It's like it's all.
I was
named after those...
wondering whether arid anus is just luck or is actually an intentional thing, and like it's certainly possible. But I was thinking that it'd be more likely if it were a bidet.
No, I feel like it would be less likely if it was a bidet.
Well, no, because like if you have an arid anus, then you need a bidet.
But that solves the problem.
That's the whole point of a brand name.
Well, Oreo cookies isn't named starvation circles.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do. It's on the package.
There's a language where Oreo means starvation circle. I'm sure of it.
You know, if that's the case, I'm no longer going to be able to deny that there's time travel going on somewhere.
But I mean, like, Oreo's maybe not the best example, but Mr. Clean is closer to a good example.
No, because Mr. Clean is not the problem. Mr. Clean is the solution.
Right. Well, that's the point. Is that if you have an arid anus, then this is the solution. And if you, I guess you're right. Yeah.
This is probably
usually
the worst
they do it in
thing
the
we've
opposite
ever
direction,
talked
don't
about.
they?
You realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm alright with that.
And we've talked about the beating of women and children.
Yeah, but like, I mean, now we're joking.
That's also true. So
yeah.
So moving
totally
on.
Different situation. Moving on.
Yeah, Hiroto starts this quest, runs into a robot with a magic wand, and the robot starts telling him some of the things about, how there's still
a magic
like an
battery
underground
powered
war.
wand.
Yes, a magic battery powered wand.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave that there.
Yeah. It's interesting. And so these different factions have these different technologies. There's still places in Japan that are fighting against the ever-expanding Yokohama Station. You get this nice... one of my favorite parts of the story is this really neat, like, over-the-water war that's going on between... I believe it's like Kyushu and Yokohama Station. There's these people on one side that every once in a while they have to launch missile attacks and mortar attacks against these giant slab bridges. Yokohama Station builds itself out of what is essentially this weird concrete mix kind of electrical pancake batter solution.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So if you see it freshly building things, it looks like pancake batter. And Yokohama Station, in its efforts to expand... Yokohama Yaki, that's good.
It's not really.
No, that's actually pretty good. Okonomiyaki, Yokohama Yaki.
Yes. Yeah, it's close.
It fits the description of what we're talking about. And, for all I know, that's how it was in the Japanese version of it.
Uh-huh.
But these Yokohama Station has trouble expanding over water. So what it has to do is it has to build these gigantic bridges that are attached to slingshots, essentially, where every once in a while it will try to fire one across the water. And it doesn't quite make it most of the time, but it's been getting better and better. And so the people on the other side more and more have to be vigilant when these bridge assaults happen.
Uh-huh.
And this has been going on for decades, apparently, because Yokohama Station has been expanding for a couple hundred years in this book, I believe. There's no real date given.
Just a quick question. Why do people want to arrest the expansion of Yokohama Station?
Because the people that are fighting it are aware of what it's like to be inside Yokohama Station, and they're aware that if it expanded across all of Japan, the only place where people without suikas would be able to live would be basically barren and entirely dependent on the trash of Yokohama Station, and that might be something that completely vanishes. So essentially, they don't want to be entirely held within the bounds of Yokohama Station.
Well, if it takes over the space that you're in, don't you get like grandfathered in or not? Does it kick you out?
You do not.
Oh, okay.
What happens is it will kick you out, but this is what makes the story a little dystopian.
Mm-hmm.
So in Yokohama Station, if you're born there until the age of 6, the turnstiles will not throw you out. But at the age of 6, if your parents haven't gotten a ton of money and gotten a suica implanted in you, and it's a ludicrous amount of money, then even children are just tossed out by the turnstiles.
Wow.
So there's an incentive for people not to let this thing cover all of Japan.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now, there's a lot of problems with that. At the end of the book, you find out a lot of what's really going on. You get clues throughout the book that certain people designed Yokohama Station, but essentially the professor from the beginning of the book is the one that knew something about this, and he knew about Exit 42, whatever that was. So Hiroto's mission, after he finds this girl that's able to manipulate the suica net, he ends up with several missions. One of them is that the robot that he met kind of gets destroyed. And in the process of getting destroyed, there's these vigilantes within Yokohama Station. And they have guns and various weapons that they don't like to fire, because obviously if they hurt people...
It draws attention.
Yeah, it draws attention, and they get tossed out of the station, which happens several times. There's a point in the story where a soldier decides that his duty to the station is greater than his duty to himself, and so he shoots Hiroto in the leg because he's trying to slow him down because he thinks Hiroto's doing something bad.
Yeah.
And when the turnstiles show up, he just accepts that they're going to throw him out, even though he's served the station all his life.
So the vigilantes work on behalf of the station?
Some of them do. There's also some that are just trying to get rid of the robots that are spies. Oh. And so when they destroy the robot, they don't get tossed out.
Yeah.
But, they nearly shoot Hiroto too, and one of them's like, oh, stop, that's a human. You get to hear about a few people's personal stories, such as one woman had a daughter. There was a guy who had adopted a girl, according to someone, and this guy was very abusive to her, and it escaped the turnstiles' notice because of the way he was being abusive. So she couldn't take it anymore and threw a vase at him, and she gets thrown out of Yokohama Station by the turnstiles.
Wow. So
it's a very, very kind of like that thing where, children are kind of fair game if they're orphans in Yokohama Station.
Yeah, and the system is set up in such a way that people can find loopholes, but like people, and by using those loopholes, they can do bad things. And other people, when they defend themselves against the bad things, they aren't using a loophole, so they get in trouble.
Yeah, and the turnstiles are not 100%. Cool. Yeah, it's a really cool concept. I mean, the turnstiles themselves are not 100% accurate as to what's going on sometimes. So there's a group of bandits at one point, and Hiroto offers to help with the bandits in exchange for some kind of information or something.
Okay.
So they have a hideout, and it's this bridge that's over, it's kind of like over part of this city. And he goes up to the bridge, and he starts using the magic wand to break up the structural integrity of the bridge so that when all the bandits return, it'll collapse and they'll all fall to what is likely their death.
Okay, wow.
And assumedly, what happened was, I may be remembering this wrong, but I think he runs into someone who tells him that the turnstiles interpreted the collapse of the bridge as the bandits' fault, and so a lot of them were tossed out of Yokohama Station.
Anyway, okay.
Yeah. And, at this point, Hiroto's having, like, these mild identity crises throughout the book where he's not really, like... There's, like, no emotion in him whatsoever that you can detect. Like, he's talking like he's depressed, but he's not actually depressed. So he's just thinking to himself, well, was I really justified in, doing things that are leading to other people's deaths? And it's kind of like if you're sitting back and thinking, well, should I really eat a fourth cookie? That's kind of the impression I got from the way he was pondering this stuff. Okay. I don't think it was lost in translation either, because I've read several books where characters are like this now. What were those books called? There's a book called Decapitation. It's a detective story by the guy that did Bakemonogatari. And that book was okay, but there were several other books in that series, and the second one, I couldn't even read past the second one, because what little motivation the main character had in the first book that kind of made him somewhat interesting, but all of the real interest was on a character that was not even really in the story.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because like he was talking about how this detective, he'd worked with this detective before, and so he kind of knew how to be a detective himself. And then she shows up at the end of the book. The second book, they really show that he's another character with no impetus of his own. He doesn't really have much agency. He just kind of wanders into things and lets whatever is going to happen.
Okay.
And they're not very interesting characters. And I think some of this stems from the writer's desire to let anyone put themselves in the character's shoes, but it just makes it boring, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean...
You have a main character that's not acting on anything that's happening around them. It's just like, imagine if Alice in Wonderland just sort of like half eyes closed wandered through the whole story.
Well, I mean, she would never have fallen down the hole of the White Rabbit.
Well, with her eyes half closed, she might have.
I mean, odds are 1 in a million.
And that's what they are. 1 in a million. I think I just referenced a Guns N' Roses song. So yeah, there's also a point in the book where I thought they were going to start skipping around to different characters, because a little over halfway through the book, they present you with another character entirely who's working for, he's working at one of the places that's defending against the Expanse. He's a soldier, and he's trying to get a hold of guns because he thinks he can solve problems if he's got some guns, which he ends up being right.
I mean, there are a lot of problems you can solve with a gun.
Yes, so many. The soldier is going to go into Yokohama Station. I don't quite understand what his point is. At one point, he makes it seem like he's going there because he just wants to ditch what he's doing and go live inside Yokohama Station. But he's also doing things that are disrupting Yokohama Station, and they're never really clear exactly what his mission is. He also meets a robot. And the robot he meets is just one that kind of travels with him for a little bit. They present it as like, oh, there's a ghost living in this place. And so he goes to see the ghost and finds out it's a robot. Mm-hmm. He helps build the robot new legs, because the reason she's hanging out where she is because her legs aren't working or something. And he's an engineer, so he fixes her legs.
What are these robots? Are they they're different from the turnstiles? Are they part of Yokohama Station, or are they something else?
They are not. They are from different factions. Each of the robots, I believe, is from a different faction. Or no. Okay. Both of these robots were from the same faction. The woman that he was supposed to rescue is from this faction called the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are part of these break-off groups of what used to be different military branches that were at war in this Great Winter War, but they were kind of reduced to factions that were warring with each other at points.
Is it a veiled baseball reference?
I don't think it is, but it might be, because, I mean, I think the Japanese know who the Dodgers are.
No, they have their own Dodgers.
They do?
Yeah, baseball's more popular in Japan than it is in the U.S.
I know, but I mean, I know they have a Tigers. I didn't know they also had a Dodgers. Did they just?
I think they almost certainly do. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only baseball team from Japan I really know is the Hanshin Tigers, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I don't follow Japanese baseball. I just know that it's a really big thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had a team called the Dodgers, or maybe even a team with some kind of colored socks.
Possibly. Let's see. What else is there to say about Hiroto? And I forgot the other character's name.
So we're supposed to...
Toshiru. Toshiru is the other character.
So we get this Toshiru character, and it kind of looks like we're going to switch over to his POV for a while, but we just end up not?
Well, we're there for about 2 chapters, I think, and then it goes back to Hiroto, and you don't see Toshiro again till the end of the book, and it's very brief.
Okay.
So he has an effect on the story at the end. What he's doing in the meantime is he kind of runs into a few problems. There's a town that's being attacked by bandits, and he takes a few pot shots at the bandits and solves a few problems that way, and then he moves on, and he leaves the robot behind. So the robot almost felt like she had no purpose in the story whatsoever.
Huh.
You know, they find people that are trapped in certain areas in Yokohama, and they're just standing there, and there's a lot of very wry humor where Toshiro will go up to someone and he'll be like, what are you doing? And, oh, we're waiting. Well, what are you waiting for? Oh, we're waiting for an exit to open up, because Yokohama Station will just build things where it sees a need for them. So if it sees people waiting, it might form like line queue accoutrements or make an exit to something if someone, it looks like they're trapped somewhere. The station just is very reactionary to whatever it sees, which is why none of it really makes sense when you travel around it.
Yeah, it's like if you're playing SimCity and looking at like only the one block that you're messing with at a given moment, you end up with this like bizarre, messed up hodgepodge with no like plan to it.
Yeah, and it's kind of how the book feels too, because while it is a fun story, the central point of it is so brief that most of the story, and I know we've used this a lot, but I feel it is worth saying again, a lot of the parts of the story feel like vignettes for the larger story. No. Like they don't necessarily...
Was this book written as a novel, or was it originally serialized in some magazine, or do you know?
I believe it was written as a novel. The author said something about that.
Okay.
He says in early 2015, he posted a theory of Yokohama Station as a living organism on Twitter. Oh, okay. So yeah, it evolved into a science fiction outline of a replicating station. Yeah. And it was kind of he says it's kind of a parody of Tsutomu Nihei's science fiction manga Blame.
Okay.
Let's see, he got a lot of good responses, spent half a year fleshing it out into a long-form novel, and he says he can also see a lot of influence in it from Makoto Shina's Adbird, a story he loved in middle school.
Okay.
Kadokawa Publishing was looking for user-driven novel submissions. He submitted his first web novel, or he submitted to their first web novel contest, received the grand prize, and got a contract to publish the book.
Oh, okay.
He says that he was the first winner in the newly created literary contest, and was critical in terms of establishing the future direction of the contest.
Yeah.
Or that's what Kadokawa told him, was that this was critical in establishing the future of the contest. His response to that was, "Are you sure about this, Kadokawa?" So that's a little amusing. He said there was too much content for a single volume, so he sectioned off side story material for a second publication, and that is apparently, it should see the light of day in 2017. I think that's this book. There's a manga adaptation on the manga site Young Ace Up.
Okay.
And yeah, that's I guess it was just meant to be a novel.
Okay, so then the vignettes thing isn't actually that sensible.
I mean, it is if you kind of read it and you see the difference. The vignettes are vignettes of what happens to Hiroto in the station. He does go from a point A to a point B, but there's not much context from one place to the other. It does seem like he is just making a parody of different situations.
Kind of a Kino's Journey kind of thing, maybe?
Yeah, but not quite as...
But all within one big train station?
Yeah, it's not quite as differing from one section to the next as Kino's Journey is.
Yeah.
Kino's Journey's different sections are supposed to be self-sustaining stories in their own right.
Right.
This is one big story, but the point of it is so ludicrously simple that the rest of it almost feels mundane and in some cases pointless. But at the same time, it's an enjoyable read because you can tell it's parody of something as you're reading it, even if it's something you haven't read. The turnstiles end up being these robots that were war robots that Yokohama Station had converted to its purposes, because, as I mentioned earlier, Yokohama Station will, say, overrun a factory, and it will see that something is built there, and so it will build those things and find a use for them. And that's how the turnstiles came about. The turnstiles were originally these human-killing war robots, which you find out when some of them leave the Yokohama Station zone and revert back to their old form. This is one of the things where Toshiro shows up at the end and saves Hiroto from these things by shooting them, and they don't even really exchange too many words. They just kind of, that happens, and Hiroto's like, "Oh, thanks," and then Toshiro's like, yeah, no problem. I was just passing by, and then he goes on. He goes on with whatever he's doing.
Literally, don't mention it. I'm out.
Yeah, it's almost like there was supposed to be a second part to that where it's like, okay, well, what did Toshiro end up doing? We don't know. The central point of what happens in the book is so mundane and obvious that I don't feel like it's spoiling anything.
Okay.
You kind of get the feeling this is where things are going to go from the start of the story.
Yeah.
So he's got 5 days inside of this place, and
Yeah.
he's pushing the limits of this by the end of the book, of course. And he even goes over it for a bit, but the girl that can change his location to a different elevation sort of helps him out.
Yeah.
And as it gets closer to the end of the book, his new mission becomes one of finding this exit 42. And so he's using all these different tools. The robot from the beginning that got destroyed, he still has a central board that has a monitor on it. And so the robot is still able to communicate with him after what's-her-name fixes it.
Yeah.
So the robot's letting him know, this is a place where you can get, and this you can get to exit 42 through here, apparently.
Yeah.
The robot's withholding information at some point. We don't know what the information is, but
because
Hiroto, yeah. Hiroto finds exit 42. And put very simply, he runs into a robot that looks exactly like the professor that visited his village and told him to go to exit 42.
Wait, was the professor that visited his village a human or a robot?
He was a human. The professor died, but this robot looks exactly like him, so we know whose image it was made in. So we also know that whatever was going on here, that professor had something to do with it.
Yeah. And
this robot explains essentially every question in the story in a bit of an exposition run that it wasn't a bad one. They did it well. It's kind of like what does it remind me of? There was another robot in a movie that just at the end of the movie the robot told you everything. And it was kind of like that. If I remember the movie, I'll bring it up again, but
Sure.
So Hiroto ends up in this room in exit 42 with another robot, and the robot says, "Here's the deal. Only a person without a Suica can press this button. I cannot press it. I am just the robot that watches over it. This is the emergency stop button for everything that's happening at Yokohama Station." And so finally, at the end of this book, Hiroto is like, huh. He essentially says, I'm a person with no agency. I've just been doing what everyone else wants me to do. This robot now wants me to press a button. I don't know what I should do, but I want to do something so that I can say I did something with my life. And
so he presses the button?
He presses the button. He does press the button. And it's kind of like, like that room collapses.
Yeah.
And everything around it. Yeah, the one he's in. That one collapses pretty quickly. He manages to get out of that situation. And now he has to kind of make his way out of Yokohama Station because the turnstiles are coming. And he's got the computer girl in, I believe, an earpiece is sending him messages about where to go. And she's kind of finding a path for him to escape.
Like Sewer Shark.
Sort of like that. He ends up on the run from the robots that follow him into the subways where he used a train to get to somewhere at the beginning of the story. He's got that terminal from the robot. The robot was the one that hacked the train before. So now he's going to hack the train again so that it can take him away from there.
Okay.
And that's where he runs into the killer robots, and Toshiro shows up and shoots them. And then he goes on his merry way, and so does Hiroto. Hiroto does escape, and
does he ever encounter the chainsaw line?
He does not encounter the chainsaw line, nor does he encounter... Oh, who was that? Danny DeVito? No.
It was a guy who looked like Danny DeVito.
It was a guy that looked a lot like Danny DeVito. Yeah, but the idea is that after pressing that button, it's not an instant collapse of Yokohama Station. But after a few years, everyone will start to see that, things aren't really regenerating anymore, and a lot of things are breaking down because they're not being maintained. And Yokohama Station is going to just not be a thing anymore. So the real point at the end of the book, and ironically, the only time where Hiroto does have his own like self-motivation.
Agency.
His own agency for things, he comes out of Yokohama Station and ends up in this fishing village where he stays for a year, and he has one of the people in the village who thinks he could be a spy but isn't sure, and is just like, well, whatever, you can stay here with us if you want.
Yeah.
He learns how to farm.
In a fishing village.
Yeah, he learns how to farm and how to fish. They do both of them there. They're kind of a self-sustaining little community because they're more near the water, and so they don't have as much trash being dumped out. But he learns how to farm. And when at the end of the year, he decides to go back to 99 Steps. He gets back there, and in a sense, he's kind of a superhero, but it's a weird superhero because he's telling everyone that Yokohama Station won't be kicking out all the wonderful goodies that it has been after a couple of years. That's going to slow down to a trickle. So he's like, so we all have to learn to farm this land, and he's the only one that knows how. So that's his life's goal now, is he's going to teach everyone to be farmers, and he's going to teach them to fish, and he's going to show them how they're going to sustain themselves after the collapse of Yokohama Station. And that is the grand journey of our hero in the story.
Our hero toe.
Of our the hero and his toes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very exciting. So it's a decent ending. I like the ending. I like that that's where they go with that, because he's just like, oh yeah, we basically have to rebuild civilization from the ground up. And it's great because at the end of the book, he's like, yeah, I'm never telling anyone that I pressed that button. He's like, they will blame me for everything. How about I just do something good for them instead? And so he decides to become a farmer. The computer girl is aware of what happened because she had some inkling of what Exit 42 was, and she knew the professor. And that's why she had stayed there, because she wanted to help someone. If she ever ran across someone without a Suica, she was going to help that person get to Exit 42. The other guy, Toshiro, who knows? I really don't know what his point in the story was, other than to shoot a robot that was going to kill Hiroto. Robots. All of Hiroto's agency came from the outside in, even for people who had nothing to do with him. He flies across
Yokohama Station shooting Ohm.
I mean, that might be the case, because after he shoots the first robot, he throws his gun over his shoulder and takes off on a scooter, and he's like, yep, I got more robots to kill, or, something like that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, he's going to work his way into Yokohama Station and he's just going to start blasting.
I guess if that's what he wants to do. Seems kind of like a waste of effort at this point, now that Yokohama Station's collapsing on itself.
Yeah. Yeah, and the book really telegraphs that that's what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But it's a fun read up to that point, which is why I don't mind spoiling that part, because nothing that you read the good parts of this book are not anything that have to do with the main story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun character interactions. Hiroto is always bland, but sometimes he runs into characters that are not, such as the robot and God, what was her name? I don't know if I'll be able to find it quickly. She's only in a few parts of the book. She has her own chapter too, where you're seeing things from her perspective sometimes.
Okay.
There's a group of people who religiously worship the turnstiles. It's a lot of stuff like that. So
they worship the turnstiles specifically, not the station?
The turnstiles, yeah. He runs across different groups of people, like in Kino's Journey, who have different sets of beliefs and lifestyles. They mention a lot of different places in Japan that he traverses. I cannot find her name anywhere. The Dodger Alliance, that was the name of the group that she was part of. And they were all caught except for her, and they were tossed out of the station, so she was the only one that was able to hold her position there, essentially.
Let's say you get tossed out of the station. How hard is it to get back in?
The turnstiles will show up immediately when they detect someone that shouldn't be there. And for some reason in this story, I don't think it's explained anywhere, but they know whenever there's a human present, and they know if they're supposed to be there or not.
Oh, okay.
Like, they find Hiroto as soon as he comes into the station, and they're like, oh, Suica not detected, and then he has to pull out the pass. But most people have it implanted, so...
Present hall pass!
Yeah. Yeah, you had to have a hall pass if you didn't have one implanted.
Second request, present hall pass. Well, okay, so it sounds like the plot is kind of lackluster, but you've got some good character interactions. You got some good, like, science fiction imaginativeness in there? What's your thoughts in that direction?
Yeah, the things that the turnstiles do and the bridges trying to cross the water, the ways people are trying to defend against it, the technology that is used, that it almost feels like it's anachronistic because it's supposed to be far in the future, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is similar to current technology because the Winter War had something to do with a nuclear war at some point, and then after a
Okay, that
big
makes sense.
well, it was like a big nuclear war, and then after that, you had all these factions that were developing different technology to try to, conquer everyone else, which is where
Yeah.
Yokohama Station came from.
Okay. Does it have a good like sense of wonder or like exploration?
A little bit. The areas that he explores are pretty nicely fleshed out. There's a scene at the end where he's being chased by these two guys that think he's up to no good. The one that shoots him that I mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the mountain on these escalators that I mentioned, where he's the only one that's got the sense to like jump from escalator to escalator. Everyone else follows them and doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
So he's just going from one place to the next, and he's running away from them. And finally, one of them is just like, he's all over the place. I'm just going to shoot him in the leg.
Makes sense.
That
All
part of the
right.
story is pretty interesting. He spends a lot of time describing what's going on the escalators and what Hiroto's thinking about the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's,
Does he have a good inner monologue, or is he kind of meh, or what do you think?
I mean, he's mostly meh throughout the story.
Okay.
But he is not. It's not really bad. It's just that you feel like he didn't. You feel like he wasn't important to the story in which he was the most important actor.
Yeah, right.
Where the whole point of the story was, if it wasn't specifically him that showed up to press this button, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I happened to be on just randomly opening up. I found a page that is related to that.
Okay.
So he says, one push of this button could undo all of that. Do you really want me to decide that? Hiroto asked. I do. If you do not press that switch, it will never activate. Or, to be more explicit, this device will not initiate if pressed by the volition of anything related to the integrated intelligence, myself included. You must move your body of your own will and physically depress the button. My own will, repeated Hiroto. He realized then that the corners of his mouth were raised. Either his facial muscles were fatigued, or he was subconsciously grinning from the folly of it all, but he couldn't tell which.
Uh-huh.
And he also says this, which was kind of, this gives you more of an inkling of how he thinks than a lot of the rest of the book.
Yeah.
It's true that I've felt like the world inside is wrong somehow. Not that I can really explain why, but I'm just a traveler. I've only been here for 5 days. Getting the 18 ticket, getting the canceller, and coming this far was all just a series of coincidences. So he thinks of himself as someone with very little agency. And he's also interpreting this offer of pressing the button of his own free will as his own agency, which is what makes him smile, because I think at 2 points in the book he mentions to the reader, not directly, but he's thinking, boy, I really just am along for the ride. Like, he tells you this. It's not just me making it up.
Uh-huh.
And so now he thinks that he's not along for the ride. But it's funny because it's the robot telling him that he needs to press the button of his own free will. And so essentially he is now in a situation where his job with his own free will is to do what the robot wants. If he really wants to have any agency. Because if he doesn't, then he still has no agency.
Well, he hasn't expressed it, at least. Agency is a weird thing. You can have a lot of agency and not use it.
Yeah, he also says, maybe you don't realize it because you're stuck here in the middle of the mountains, but there are tons and tons of people living in Yokohama Station. They've been living there for way over a century. What right do I have to steal the lives they built for themselves? What does that make me? The robot's great, though, because he just says, what you are does not concern me. But there is one thing I can say. You used the word right, but that does not apply here. I am not asking you to decide the fate of Yokohama Station. If you do not press that button, I will have to wait for my next visitor. That might be tomorrow, or it might be 100 years from now. Either way, the end will come eventually. That much is certain. Columbus did not have the right to determine the fate of the Native Americans. Their destiny was already decided at the point that two civilizations differed in strength.
Okay, interesting. I mean, do you get a lot of neat little philosophical bits in there, or is that like the big one?
You get a lot of them throughout the book. A lot of things that Hiroto questions, that since it's such a weird world he lives in, he's questioning from strange angles. And this one was particularly funny because The follow-up to that is Hiroto didn't know what Columbus was, but he got the impression that it was supposed to be a significant moment in human history.
Oh, great. Interesting. So like a... I'm thinking like, what would we call it? Like a social science fiction? In a way?
The robot at the end is the most philosophical part of the story, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Because the robot goes on to say, allow me to make an analogy. You have a pile of sand sitting on top of a table, and you are dropping the grains from above, one at a time. Let's see. Initially, it's just a little mound, but in time, it will become an enormous mountain. However, the process will never end. Eventually, there will be a collapse. One of those grains of sand will cause the mountain to topple. So he's basically now explained to Hiroto that even if Hiroto has agency and presses the button, it would have happened anyway at some point. So
sure,
he still doesn't have any agency.
Does the robot say anything about, like, has he had any other visitors earlier? Does he say anything about that?
I don't know if he did.
You are the fourth person to show up, and I can only tell you this. No?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think it said that anywhere in the book.
Okay, fair enough. Kind of a... What was that? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade kind of thing? You must choose. You've chosen poorly.
Yeah. That was the name of the hacker girl, Keiha.
Okay.
Yeah, the science fiction aspects are really neat. The different philosophical ramblings are fun, but you have the Suica net, which is a network that anyone inside Yokohama Station can ask it questions to figure out where things are, or, get through their daily lives with information.
Yeah.
There's people.
And it will reply with watermelons.
It will reply with watermelons. Actually, no, I thought that he was making a reference to some watermelon thing too, but there's apparently...
No, there's a card in Japan called the Suica.
Yeah. He says that in the afterword somewhere.
Yeah.
There's people on the outside of Yokohama Station that find ways to get access to the Suica net, but it's limited as to what information they can get, so people have very small understandings of what's actually going on inside of Yokohama Station if they're on the outside.
Do you get a good look at what the life of people inside Yokohama Station is like?
You do, and it varies a lot too, so it's not easy to really... Okay. There's these people that work for the station, literally working for an AI, who they have a name for them. I don't remember what they were. Station masters or something. Yeah. They essentially do the work of the turnstiles, but as people, so they hunt down people that don't have Suicas. And try to alert the station. The two people that were chasing Hiroto I believe, were station masters.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like kind of a... I mean, it sounds intriguing. What do you think? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? A little bit of both?
I give it a thumbs up, but I'm pretty sure I'm only ever going to read this one once. It was a one-off.
Okay, a one-shot.
And it's different
not
from...
like a... Yeah.
It's different from a lot of what people would read in most of the Western world. So it's got
different.
That
different is good. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Because it's a lot of Japanese storytelling, when they're stories like this, they have a lot of just everything is subtle. Nothing is really there's no heavy action throughout the story. Yeah. Everything is the subtle actions of characters going from one place to the next, and Hiroto is largely there to be the observer for the reader.
Yeah. Okay,
but
cool.
It definitely has that feel of, you can kind of... the character has no real personality, so you can kind of just use that as an avatar, which I've never
Pretend
liked
he's Charlie
that.
Brown.
Yeah, pretend he's Charlie Brown. Actually, no, that's a really good description of this character. It's Charlie Brown traveling through a dystopian Yokohama.
Only you may press this button. I got a rock.
He goes to press the button, and the robot pulls the button away.
Yeah, that'd be great. Are you kidding? Are you crazy?
And it works, too, because the robot is Lucy, because the robot has the psychology... who was it that had the psychology
That's
stand?
Lucy, yeah.
That was Lucy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, she did both. Okay, well, it sounds like we've got a nice little review of a book.
Review-ish. I mean,
review-ish. I mean, you've kind of given us a case. If you want something that's kind of fun and imaginative, not really particularly action-packed, not a particularly deep or detailed main character, but still, imaginative. And that it sounds like something fun to read.
Yeah, and it does have its moments. It does have I mean, some of the scenes are really fun where Toshiro meets the robot and he's questioning it about being a ghost, and it's the robot is playing up to the ghost thing a bit just to scare people away.
Okay.
And that's actually a nice exchange too, because the robot's like, if I were a ghost, or no, I think Toshiro says something like, well, if you were a ghost, this gun wouldn't do anything to you. And the robot's like, well, do you think I'm a ghost? And so Toshiro just fires at her.
Oh, jeez. Not anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, all right, good stuff.
They become friends after that.
Who? Toshiro and the robot?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Well, the robot attacks him after that and is like, I could kill you. And then he's like, yeah, well, I mean, it was a good exchange. I won't spoil any of it anymore.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
The book did it better than I'm going to be able to explain it.
What you're saying is that there are some fun character interactions that you might not expect.
Yeah, the book is largely character interaction driven. Nothing.
Okay.
There's some parts where Hiroto's using the canceller wand, and but it's really just the Deus Ex Machina of the story. It's like, ooh, nobody would normally be able to get here, but I have a device that will let me get here.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I guess that'll do it then. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. Japanese novels are getting translated a lot in America due to the popularity of manga and anime and people being interested in more of what's coming out of Japan. So there's actually a lot out there to check out. Unfortunately, the majority of it is younger reader light novel stuff, which some of that's pretty good.
Sure.
And you can find translations of, like, you can read a translation of the Decagon House Murders, which is a pretty decent and then there were none style mystery.
Yeah.
The same author wrote another, which is 2 parts. There's 2 books for it. And you and I have seen the anime. I don't know if you ever read the book, but the book is fantastic.
Okay.
The anime was good enough, but of course the book is just, it is one of the better horror stories that you will ever read.
All right, cool. Maybe we'll have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah, so it's worth checking out some of these translated novels. And, this is leading to more and more countries getting much more work translated into English. Sure. I think Chinese and Korean comic books are on the rise, and so sooner or later the readers will be like, well, what about the books? And we'll start seeing more of the literature that comes out of those places.
Will they really be like, what about the books?
Well, I mean, that's what happened with the Japanese ones. People realized that, these are also based off.
We're living in a new time, a new era.
That's true. We did discuss that recently too. People just aren't reading. Which is why, which is why I probably should stop writing books that can eat other books, because nobody is touching anything that large anymore.
Pretty much. On the other hand, my novel is only 80,000 words.
So, time for us
Bazinga.
Time for us to advertise that puppy.
Yeah.
Which one?
My only novel-length writing.
Well, you've got some that are fairly long novellas.
Yeah, but they're like 20 or 30,000 words.
That's good enough.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're solid reads, but
I mean,
but you have the Racken too, which is also not that long.
Well, the Racken is about 60-some thousand, so it's
that's a nice short novel.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's move on from this depressing thinking about people not reading.
Yes, let's do that. And so we will end this podcast. As always, thanks for listening. And next week I think our plan is to hit up one of the Arsène Lupin books that is especially good. Is saying something, because they're all really good.
Yeah, do not let me forget to read that, by the way.
I will. I mean, this is part of the reminder.
Yeah.
But I'll send you a message later this weekend.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to start until maybe tomorrow night. It's not that long a
Okay.
story, thankfully. I might be able to do it in one sitting, unless I start late at night.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. This is the Wordy Pair. I'm Rudy.
And I'm Justin, and we have been ejected from Yokohama Station.
But only after pressing the button.
I press any button you put in front of me.
Thanks for listening to the Wordy Pair Podcast. Our passion is all things writing, world building, and getting into the weird and wonderful world of fiction. We hope you enjoyed our unique takes. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to get your weekly dose of writing weirdness. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter. For Rudy, it's @Rudolph_Cone. And for Justin, @Ninja Mouse Chew. See you next time on the Wordy Pair Podcast.